Already am back with the 2007 Volvo XC70. We're going to replace the steering angle sensor for the DSTC, in other words, the dynamic stability and traction control. So we got the new part. So what I did first, there's 3 screws right there. You can see them. They come off the bottom of the plate. I went ahead and I'm taking this plate off. I got the top one there. I don't need to take it apart any farther. But I got the bottom plate off, which I have right here. So there's your 3 screws that come out. So we split that. Now we're going to go continue farther and pull the horn and airbag out. Alrighty. So to get this horn out and airbag assembly, if you look there, I'll try to do with the light. Right there's a screw and there's a screw. Well, to get after that, you got to get behind the steering wheel here. You can see it right there. There's one captured, and then there's one on the other side, and it's a T27. So now what I'm going to do is unhook the horn and the airbag, but we had to make sure the battery's unplugged, which we did. Alrighty, so I took the bolt out for the, sorry, it's kind of dark in here, the center bolt there. As you can see down there, there's a big support bracket. Took that out, took the bolt out. There's a rod Loctite on it. And then there's no odd spline in here, so you have to mark it if you want to be back in the same exact spot. So I took a center punch. If this thing focuses ever. You can see it there. But anyways, I don't know if it's going to focus. Oh, yeah, I center punched this center shaft in the steering wheel there, so I can pull this off and go from there. Alrighty, so I pulled the steering wheel off. You can see it down there. Sorry, it's so dark in here, like I said. But you can see my mark on the shaft there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to remove these 4 screws around the perimeter there. Or actually 3 screws, not 4. But before we do that, we're going to unplug these wire harnesses and go from there. So I got the old one out. If you look at the bottom there, there's some pins there, some pins there. Well, what they do is they go into the circuit board, this printed circuit board down there and up there. So you got to be real careful to line everything back up. So now we're going to go ahead and install it. So we got the new one installed. You got to be very careful when you press it in, make sure all the pins line up. I got to put the screws in, but if you notice up top there, see there with the light, there's that screw right on top there. That's for an alignment. So you want to put that in there right now, or leave it in there, I mean, to get all this back together, then pull the screw out. That way it's, make sure everything is lined up accordingly. Then we're going to go ahead and put these 3 screws in. Alrighty, now I got the 3 screws in. So now there's one harness over here. You can see that there's kind of dark, but you're going to plug this guy in right here. Goes in right there. Snaps in. Good to go. Now we're going to go ahead and put the steering wheel on. So I got the steering wheel back on. I lined my 2 marks up that I use a center punch on. Go ahead and put that bracket on the bolt in. And then I'm going to pop that center screw out on top there, because that way everything's lined up now correctly. And you can see there's little 2 tabs there that are 180 degrees apart from the center of that bolt hole going out. So like I said, I'm going to put the bracket on, bolt it in, take that, torque it down, and take that screw out on top. And then we'll go from there. Alrighty, we got the bolt in, or the bracket, the bolt in, Loctite on it, torque down, and the screws out of there. You don't want to leave that screw in there, because if you do when you turn the wheel, it'll break it. That's just for an alignment. So that's all good now. Now we're going to go ahead and hook up the airbag and the horn and put that back in. So I'm plugging the connector in for the harness up there. And then there's 2 airbag connectors. They're color coded green and it looks like purple. So if you look there, that's green. And that's green there too. So I'm going to continue to hook that up. And then what I'm going to do is get these wires routed accordingly so they're on both sides of the bolt. And then you can see these little guide pins or dowel pins right there, both sides. They're going to go up in those rubber grommets there. Sorry, not the rubber grommets, those guide pins there and there. They're going to go in those, that hole and that hole there. I misspoke earlier. Alright, it's back in. Now we got to tighten the screws up on the back of this thing and put this steering wheel covers back on and go from there. Alright, we got the horn, airbag back in, the column, plastic pieces, 3 screws on the bottom, and snap back in. Everything's good to go. So now we got to hook up the battery back up, which is in the trunk on this car. And then we're going to go ahead and do the relearn and do a couple of drivability tests with it, make sure everything is good to go. Alrighty, I got key on, engine off. I'm going to go ahead and calibrate it now. I checked the steering angle sensor module in the ABS module. There's no codes, but to calibrate it, you got to go into the ABS module. What it tells you in here, we're just going to go to special function. We're going to go to, it says key position 0 means power off. Key position 1 means ignition off. Key position 2 means ignition on. Key 3 means engine run. The other part is if you have a smart key, which this one does not. It has a regular, just a regular old key. Right? So, depending on what you're calibrating, you may need that data. Then it tells you in here, we're going to calibrate for vehicles with dynamic stability traction control. Dynamic stability traction control. Hit that. It's going to tell us. So this is only with DSCT or DSTCs, which will we have. So it says calibration note. The only applies to vehicles with dynamic stability and traction control. Note the adaptive data in the brake control module. So the adaptive data is steering angle sensor, accelerometer, all that. The adaptive data in the brake control module, BCM, brake control module must be calibrated for the stability function to operate correctly after repairing when replacing the BCM, the adaptive data. So if you replace the BCM, you got to redo all these data, pressure sensors, ladder, accelerometer, steering angle sensor must be calibrated. We're just doing the steering angle sensor because that's all we did. If we replaced the BCM, we'd have to do all these modules or all these sensors. But we didn't replace it, we replaced the steering angle sensor. So it tells you down here then, active yaw control sensor, the adaptive data for the yaw rate sensor, lateral accelerometer must be calibrated. Cars with 4-wheel drive only. Caution for the XC70, which this is not, must be calibrated and replacing the BCM. Basically what they're talking about, if you replace the BCM, you got to calibrate all these. But since we just did the steering angle sensor and not the BCM, we're just recalibrating the steering angle sensor. So ignition on, with ignition turned on, which we do, engine off, turn the steering wheel at least 15 degrees to the right or left. Then turn the steering wheel so that its wheels are straight and start the calibration. Calibrate the control module by clicking the OK button. So we're in the garage, we're on a level surface, we're straight. We're going to go about 15 degrees to the right or left. Or at least 15 degrees it says. I mean, that's way more we need. So I'm going to go back, make sure my steering wheel is straight, my wheels are straight. Get this straight here. And I just got to eyeball it. So it's straight. I don't know if you can tell in the video. Maybe it doesn't look like in the video, but it is straight when I'm looking right at it. It's just the way I'm holding my camera. So it's straight there. So then I hit OK. So this is all your options: pressure sensor, lateral, longitudinal, yaw, and roll. But we're just doing this steering angle one. So you hit start. Start OK. So it's completed. It's already done. So it is good to go. Now we're going to go ahead, drive it around and graph it and make sure there's no codes. Make sure no faults come up. So I just want to let you guys know I did calibrate all these. I just went ahead and did them all. Just since we're in here, might as well, right? So now we'll go ahead and drive it and take a look at the data. We already got the key on, engine running, no lights on the dash. Let's look at the steering angle sensor, make sure there's no codes. There shouldn't be. No codes. Let's look at the ABS module, make sure there's no codes. That's when we reprogrammed the steering angle sensor. There should be nothing. Good. Go back to the steering angle sensor and let's look at our live data to prove that this is a fix. Hit live data. Let's look at these two PIDs, parameter IDs. Steering angle 0. Well, it would be because I'm I can't really tell in the video how I'm holding the phone, but the steering angle goes straight. Steering wheel is perfectly straight on, so I'm 0. If I go to the right and the left, it moves, right? Everything's good. So now let's graph it and prove that it's fixed. I'm going to drive here. If I go to the right a little bit, the left a little bit, everything reads, right? I got it on the auto scale there. But if you remember when it failed last time, if I went all the way to the left or all the way to the right, it would stay up there and it would fault out. And it would throw all the lights on the dash. So that's the test we want to do. Because like I said, the ends of those, the photodiodes or the optical sensors in there, they were bad going out, right? So make sure there's no cars. Go all the way to the left to the bump stop. Hold it there. It's good, good, good. Go back, and it goes back down. Now let's go all the way to the right to the bump stop. Good, good, good. Let's go back. Sorry about my camera work. I'm trying to do this at the same time. Go back. It's good to go. Right? Everything's good. No lights on in the dash. So the steering angle sensor is reading good. What we'll do now is make sure there's no codes. I already know there's not because the stability DSTC never came back on. Everything worked out well. Look at trouble codes. Nothing. Let's go back. ABS. Make sure there's no codes or anything like that. Good to go. So that is a fix for this vehicle. It is all good to go. It just needed a new steering angle sensor put in, and it also needed to be programmed. So that is it for this video.